My name is Kwabena Chencheninibuati. Many thanks for joining us here on News Desk. Now to our first story this hour. And a fellow of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, Professor Emmanuel Jimabodi, has rubbished the current assets declaration regime in place in the country, saying it is as good as useless. Now, the regime, which many anti-corruption crusaders have criticized, does not oblige office holders to make their declaration public. Not even the Auditor General, who is the custodian of the declarations, can verify the claims made. An arrangement, Professor Jimabodi says, makes accountability almost impossible. He was speaking at the Joy FM Thought Leadership Forum at Legon here in Accra.
A person who holds a public office is expected to submit to the Auditor General a written declaration of all properties or assets owed by him and all liabilities owed by him, whether directly or indirectly. The declaration, according to the Public Office Holders Act 550, Section 3, shall be made by the public officer before taking office at the end of every 4 years and at the end of the term of his office. The asset declaration debate became topical in recent years when Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari and his vice Yemi Osibajo declared their assets in May last year. Under the current legislation in Ghana, the Auditor General, the institution mandated to receive and keep the asset declaration forms from public office holders, is only obliged to scrutinize the contents of the form on the orders of a high court. That system, according to Professor Emmanuel Jimabodi, is useless.
Under the current rules, the assets, whether they are declared or not, nobody really knows, because it is in the bosom of the Auditor General's department to the Auditor General, who is the custodian of these declarations, of these disclosures, as at now, claims that the law does not permit him or her to look at what is it that have been disclosed. So by the current interpretation, the Auditor General simply receives an envelope said to be containing the disclosed assets of the official. According to our Auditor General, well, he may well be holding brown envelopes containing toilet rolls.
He also described as excessive the powers vested in the president and his appointees and wants those powers slashed.
Ghanaians have come to appreciate that you cannot have any serious system of controls on the behavior of public office holders in a constitutional arrangement which grants so much power to the presidency and appointees of the president. And so, if we are serious about constraining, about the proper and effective use of state power for economic and social transformational purposes, then it's important that we reduce the excessive powers that we have entrusted to the executive.
Let's now turn our attention to some other issues that obviously is of interest to both yourself and myself. Now, there's been a massive shake-up at the Electoral Commission, barely 7 months to the 2016 general elections. Christian Osupari, Acting Director of Public Affairs of the Commission, has now been moved to administration. Principal Public Relations Officer of the Commission, Sylvia Ano, is also headed for the protocol desk of the Commission. Now, the Commission is now asking interested persons within the Commission to apply for the vacant positions according to an internal memo. So, really, what does this mean? Barely 7 months to the conduct of the general elections. Political scientist Dr. Edward Benya is joining me on phone now with some thoughts on this very development. Dr. Benya, good morning. Many thanks for joining us here on News Desk, sir.
Good morning.
So the first thing is, how surprising is this move by the EC? And from where you sit, I mean, what are the likely reasons for such a drastic decision?
First of all, let's look at why organizations might want to make changes. Administrative reorganization. Administrative reorganization often comes around when, one, an organization is trying to change its focus to promote efficiency and effectiveness. As to why the Electoral Commission, barely 7 months to the election, might want to make certain changes, I would want to think that it is intended as ensuring efficiency and effectiveness of the 2016 election. I believe strongly that given the criticism that the Electoral Commission has been receiving at this moment, that the new Electoral Commissioner, in her effort to prove Ghanaians wrong, wants to ensure that she leaves no stone unturned to ensure that she gives Ghanaians the best and also prove her critics wrong. I believe strongly that this reorganization that took place has identified the strength of the officials and in turn place them at a place where they can make the needed impact to ensure that what at the end of the year 2016 become a success so that the purpose of the Electoral Commission to be proven wrong.
Doc, let me find out from you. I mean, how would you assess the role of the PR unit of the Electoral Commission? How would you assess their work over the past few months or years?
The PR?
Yes, the PR wing of the Electoral Commission.
I think the PR, when you assess them, a team and mismatch. Yes, you could give them kudos for what they've done well, and at certain times you realize that some of the criticisms that the Electoral Commission has received is because the public relations unit failed to sort of communicate with the public on a lot of things that would have clarified some of the misconceptions that the Electoral Commission has received in the past. So in that sense, yes, there are areas where I would say that the sport high where they should, but in other areas I thought that they have not hit their mark, and which of course will require that a new face is given to the PRs who are present to exactly the work that the Electoral Commission did. The Electoral Commission at this point, before they get to the 2016, need to present a good image. They need to let Ghanaians know that some of the criticisms and image that has been painted about them is not true. That Ghanaians will have faith in the Electoral Commission going to 2016. And I believe strongly that the check-up is supposed to lead to that, where a new person who can promote and give a better image of the Electoral Commission takes on so that he can promote this new image that the Commission needs to establish the strength and faith that Ghanaians want in them going to 2016.
Right. So again, let me try and find out some more from you on this very same subject matter. Now, the Electoral Commission is now advertising for persons to fill these vacancies. What they are advertising, though, is that they prefer people within the commission to pick up this particular mantle from both sides. Now, the issue being raised by many is that at this particular point in time, the EC would rather need some people who, some would say, communications experts who are really good at this job, possibly outsource the job to some other people or get some people outside the firm to do this job and do it effectively. I mean, is that a call you agree with?
No, I think that most of the time when you're doing administrative reorganization, because of the essence of administrative culture, each administration, each organization has culture. And it is often argued that it is better if you can get people who already have imbibed into the organizational culture to take up certain positions. It is so that you do not have to train or get the new ones that are coming in just by the expertise to develop or sort of buy into the organizational culture. I believe strongly that the Electoral Commission has taken cognizance of the number of months that are left before 2016, and they believe that bringing a new person, despite the speech of this person, that this person might come in and communicate based on expertise, but not based on the culture of the Electoral Commission. In that sense, it makes sense to bring somebody who is within, who has already thought of, has embedded him or her the organizational culture of the Electoral Commission, and maybe with new training, maybe with improvement of skills, let that individual take on command. I think at this moment they're doing is to change the face of the many, the organizations can get that individual to just the image that is needed instead of trying to deal with someone who was well established within that area and who many a times might make it seem like I know what I'm doing and therefore difficult to get the individual to change the path of projecting the electoral. I think that is the reason why they want someone to do.
Right. At this point, I'd like to introduce David Asante, who is the convener for the Let My Vote Count Alliance, and they have been putting a lot of pressure on the Electoral Commission on a number of issues, also on the EC's seeming lack of transparency. We'll be engaging with him in a bit. But let me finally ask Dr. Asante. Dr. Brenya, I beg your pardon. Dr. Brenya, finally, before we go, I want to know what impact, if any, is this move by the EC likely to have on the general elections?
I think it can do a lot, depending upon who takes on the mantle of the PR. As you said, there's been a lot of situations against the Electoral Commission. The mode of communication to the public has not been at its best. The face of the PR has been one that Ghanaians know, one that Ghanaians, for many of the civil society and citizens of the Electoral Commission, these are individuals that are considered as not the people that they want to hear. Bringing a new face brings in a new dialogue. Bringing a new face projects a new image. And I believe that if only the Electoral Commission can get in a new face to the PR department, who might want to communicate differently from those that were there, it will change a whole lot of things. The trust, the faith that can exist in the Electoral Commission will start to develop, and maybe with the communication style of whoever takes on the PR position, the Electoral Commission would be able to communicate differently to the electorate, such that the electorate will begin to understand the Electoral Commission and change the image that has been painted about the Electoral Commission for the last 6 months or a year now.
Right. Doc, many thanks for your time on News Desk this morning. That was Dr. Edward Brenya. He's a political scientist, and he's been sharing some thoughts on that massive shakeup at the Electoral Commission. But like I mentioned earlier, David Asante, who is convener for the Let My Vote Count Alliance, has joined in the conversation and is now on phone to also share some thoughts on this very issue. Mr. Asante, good morning. Thanks for joining us. And I don't know whether to ask whether or not you are content with this decision. I mean, you have been embarking on a series of demonstrations seeking to push the Electoral Commission to do a lot more, including the fact that, you believe they've not been transparent enough to the citizenry and the entire populace. Is this decision by the EC something that gives you the hope that a lot might be changing in the coming days?
Thank you very much, and let me say good morning to Ghanaians, and then good morning to our viewers and listeners. I must also take this opportunity to express our appreciation to the teeming supporters who poured out onto the street in Ashanti region to help the Let My Vote Count Alliance send that positive signal to the election management body of this country about the seriousness we attach to the issue of the voters register. The million march that took place in Ashanti region this week is a serious signal. The point is, we know on authority there are battling issues at the commission. There are bigger issues yet to come out regarding control and command at the Electoral Commission of Ghana. Reassigning Christian Owusu-Parry and then reassigning Madame Sylvia Ano, both of the PR department, I do not think is a solution to really the tainted image and reputation of the Electoral Commission. What will solve the image of the Electoral Commission, which is gradually being tainted, is the Commission to really exhibit its absolute independence and open-mindedness to take its own fair and firm decision without executive manipulation of the Commission. That is where the problem is. Mr. Christian Owusu-Parry, on a number of instances, has churned out issues that turned out to be palpable falsehoods. he has been sent to carry out a number of information on behalf of the Electoral Commission, which later on turned out to be pure lies.
And which specific issue are you referring to here?
Well, we know the dangerous, politically biased, NDC-dominated committee put together was principally communicated out to us first of all by the chairperson of the commission herself. The neutrality and independence of the committee was first broken to us by the commissioner herself, commissioner. Later on, the subsequent communiques were issued and signed by Mr. Christian Owusu-Parry. And the fact that Christian Council was officially written to, which turned out to be lies, all these blatant falsehoods were openly and courageously carried out and defended on behalf of the commission by Mr. Christian Owusu-Parry. But the point is, after using him to execute all these ungodly mandates, and you want to reassign him, we don't have any problem. That is their internal mechanism. But we know, on authority, there is a seeming serious problem of executive manipulation of the Electoral Commission. And that is terrible for our democracy. That's where the
these are pretty serious accusations you speak of, Mr. Santi. I mean, any proof to back your claims?
What I'm saying is, the Electoral Commission must wean itself off the executive. The executive manipulation of the Electoral Commission is unhealthy for our democracy.
But as things stand now, Mr. Santi, what you're saying happens to be a mere speculation. There's nothing to back that claim that the EC is being manipulated by the executive. I mean, any evidence to back the claim?
Well, we have just started this issue and PR department has started taking up. For your information, there are other junior staff who have entirely been laid off, if you care to know. Those that have come out into the public domain are just an infinitesimal percentage of the overall unhealthy shake-up happening at the commission.
Mr. Santi, again, let me. Sorry to chip in again. Sorry to chip in again, David Santi. But over the years, I mean, this is how we've seen the EC operate over the past years. I mean, what's different this time round? During the era of the NPP, during the era of the PNDC, and then subsequently the NDC, this is how the EC has operated, and they've been autonomous, really. So if you then seem to pass comments that suggest that, well, they are being manipulated, then it begs the question, I mean, why such a claim, really?
Well, for us in Let My Vote Count Alliance, we naturally did not have so much problem with the fact that the EC chooses who to do what. It's within their own internal working arrangement to determine how they swap the chairs and then swivel them around. That is entirely theirs. But the question that a few persons have asked is that 7 months to election and the Electoral Commission is busily swiveling its PR persons around. What I'm thinking is that the Electoral Commission has a bigger job and has a bigger responsibility of projecting its quality service beyond its PR image. We agree. The image of the Electoral Commission has been dented by a few awful lies they told in the last few months. Some terrible errors they committed, obvious to all of us. These have whittled down the confidence that people have. But swiveling around your PR department senior officers is not the solution. Ghanaians have not complained about the Electoral Commission's personnel. We have complained about the shoddy performance, like their inability to stick to their committee's recommendation of cleaning the voters' register through validation. The EC for over 2 years has failed to solve the problem. Basic problem like delivering a credible voters' register has taken the Electoral Commission of Ghana 2 solid years. And we are still nowhere. And you think this is a commission that can command the confidence of the masses?
Okay.
I'm telling you, the executive manipulation of the commission is where the problem is.
Right. So you believe that even the decision to reshuffle the persons handling the PR division of the commission, I mean, you raise issues with their work. Now they are being moved, and you still think it's not a step in the right direction?
The point is that the PR department of the Electoral Commission does not take decision on whether or not to conduct the election on the 7th December or 7th November. The PR department is not responsible for whether or not we will clean the register through validation or we will do an entirely new register. The PR department only communicates to us what the meeting arrives at, whether or not we will start a limited registration exercise before we do validation.
I get a sense that I get a sense the Let My Vote Count Alliance is not particularly happy with the chairperson of the commission. Is that the case?
We really will not have specific problems with her person. But what we are saying, in the last few months and in the last few years, the executive have manipulated the commission. This is purely unhealthy for our democracy.
Okay.
Look, Henry.
Yes.
It's basic. Just spare me a few seconds. At the Alisa Hotel, the NDC was of the opinion the electoral register has issues, but we do not think cleaning it. We do not think a new register is a solution. Interestingly, Madam Salato's position was that we will not do a new register because opening up all the 29,000 polling stations for new registration will create potential chaos.
And is that not a valid point?
I'm happy you believe it's a valid point. Let's extend the
There's a question I'm asking. Is that not a valid point?
It's absolutely untenable. That is retrogressive approach to election management. If we want to extend the logic further, how about Madam Salato's latest position on how to clean electoral register through the process of verification or exhibition? When you open up exhibition and allow people to challenge the inclusion of certain individuals on the electoral register, and there are 29,000 police stations, and we have 10 cases of challenge across the nation, we will have 290,000 cases of challenge across the country during exhibition. That is not just a recipe for disaster. It is a recipe, it's a disaster on its own as national character. So, my point is, the NDC at every single point in time, together with the Electoral Commission, have maintained a single point. When the NDC say we don't want a new register, cleaning it is a solution. The EC say we won't do a new register, cleaning it is a solution. When we meet at Alisa Hotel and the EC says we need to clean the register, NDC says we need to clean the register. When the committee presents their report and say validation is the way to go, we will clean it. EC says validation. NDC comes to say validation. Now EC comes out to say I won't do validation to clean the register. Exhibition is the best way. NDC says exhibition is the best way.
Right,
all
Mr. Santi.
Shut up.
Mr. Santi, many thanks for your time on News Desk this morning. That was David Asante. He's the convener for the Let My Vote Count Alliance. They've been raising some serious issues this morning, and they were reacting to that particular decision by the commission to reshuffle some members of the unit. And indeed, 2 persons of the PR division have been moved to other designations there. And Mr. Santi of the Let My Vote Count Alliance believes that is not the solution in itself, and that there's a bigger problem the Electoral Commission needs to look at if we are to have credible polls this November. They, for instance, speak of executive manipulation, which he failed to substantiate anyway, and a few more other concerns he raised on this very show. We'll be bringing a lot more on this in subsequent bulletins, particularly our news and news analysis program, The Pulse, which airs at 3 p.m. on this very same channel. Let's still stay with politics, and the opposition NPP is challenging President John Dramani Mahama and the NDC to disclose fully money spent on the construction of the many projects the NDC attributes to itself as achievements over the past few years, if it is keen on really accounting to the people. Speaking on caucus last night, Volta Regional Chairman of the party, Peter Hamel, said the costs of projects carried out under the NDC administration have been highly exaggerated. As such, a lot more disservice is being done to the citizenry. He dared the NDC to publish the real cost of the projects if it was really keen on accounting to the people, as it claims.
Has done a lot for Volta region. Now, let me even start with this Eastern Corridor. There are 2 major roads leading to the northern part of Volta region. Number 1 is the Eastern Corridor, which runs through Howe. And then number 2 is the Pando Raura Dambai Road. The Pando Raura Dambai Road was started by President Kufuor. 78% of the road was completed before we left office, right down from Nkonya through Asukoko, heading towards Dambai. 78% of that portion of the road was completed before we left office.
As of 2008.
As of 2008. The other road, which is the major Eastern Corridor that they're talking about, NPP government was the first government to start working on the Eastern Corridor. Now, the section between Golokwati and Howe. That road was constructed in 1971. 1971. Since 1971, that portion of the road had never witnessed any upgrade. 71, of course, during
Professor Buzia administration.
That portion hadn't seen any development until in 2002, when President Kufuor again cut sword for completion of that road. Actually, that section was construction and completion. We've completed that road. A part of that, the section between Pepesu and Jinji, again heading towards Nkwanta, was again, the sword was cut in 2002 by the late Vice President. That section was also completed. President Kufuor sourced the EU funding for the section that we call the missing link before we left office. That portion, of course, is now being done by the NDC administration. So for the president to come out and talk even about roads, major roads in Volta regions are all being done by NPP. Another major road leading to Volta region is the road right down from Temarana about to Aflau. Unfortunately, my good friend Perry, when the president, I was told that he flew. Because the last time he was coming to Howe, he flew. And so because he flew to Nkwanta, he couldn't see the status of the road. And that is why when he presented the State of the Nation address, he misled Ghanaians. So I gave him that.
But he drives on that road quite often.
No, that day.
He was at Hogbechocho in November last year.
No, well, of course he used the Aflau road. I'm talking of the Howe one. He flew up to Nkwanta. The road was in a bad state. But in his state of address, he said, we have done the Howe town roads. When we challenged the minister, mobilized his people to Howe. It was a humiliation. What did we see? The State of the Nation address that the president read out to Ghanaians when they were going to bring that statement out, what the president said before the House of Representatives in this country, those portions were eliminated. We are taking this country for a joke. President before the House of Parliament said, I have done this and that and that. When the statement was printed out to give to Ghanaians, that portion that he said he has done was taken out. And nobody queried the president.
And that was Peter Ameu, who is the Volta Regional Chairman of the opposition New Patriotic Party, speaking on Minority Caucus last night. And do remember that caucus, that's joint caucus, as this evening at 6 p.m. on this very same channel, the Joy News channel on Multi TV. Let's take a break here on News Desk. When we come back, we'll bring you a lot more stories. Stay with us.